Welcome to our next session on this fabulous International Women in Business Summit. And I'm delighted to introduce our next speaker, who is not only the woman who made all this happen, for which we are all very grateful, but she's also an expert in everything to do with book writing and book publishing, particularly books to drive business, as opposed to if you want to do a bestseller, you can probably still talk to Sigrid, but her focus is on business books that help people, particularly women, drive business income. And so today she's going to help us with one of the somewhat frightening, exciting elements of book writing and business and book publishing that has come in recently. Sigrid, you're going to tell us about what you've discovered about AI for book writing and business. Over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, it is a interesting area. There are loads of people coming to me, texting me, messaging, emailing about, I can write my book with AI. How long will that take me? Everybody is focused on the time when it comes to book writing, and it appears that this new medium, AI, is the way to go to have your book written within a day, completed, and all you need to do is publish it. Now, let me tell you, first of all, AI has actually been in the world since the 1950s. That's when it really started in various ways. So it's not brand new or something completely new. It is filtered into so many areas of our lives and business, and it has improved itself over time, as it is doing right now. Can you write your book with AI? Of course you can. Here are the important questions to ask. As I always point out, go about it strategically. What is it you really want to achieve by having your book? And I'm not talking about the more emotional based, why do I want to write? Why do I want to leave a legacy? Why is this important to get my message out? I'm talking about the practical, what is this book going to do for me once I have it? What is the outcome I want to achieve? When you look at it from that perspective, then you can much more clearly address how you're going to go about the writing and whether AI fits into it or not. Now, a couple of very practical points right up front. AI is detectable. There are software sites out there by which you can detect if a piece of content was written or partially written by AI. So don't think that you can write your book and let it claim that it is all yours. It can be verified whether it is or not. That is the first thing. Number two is in the publishing, at this point in time, for example, Amazon will ask you how much of your content of your book has been created by AI. And it is better to be honest, because down the track, they may very well, or they may already send your book text through one of those tools to check whether you did tell the truth. They're not telling us whether they do or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if they are. So tell the truth if you have created any part of your content with AI. The reason possibly might be that down the track they want to make sure that what is being offered is offered truthfully, either by the author completely on their own or whether AI helped. Now, I suspect going further and further into the future with the development of AI more and more, that you will probably use it. More and more people will use it. And therefore, I think it is important to know how much is the person's own methodology, message, or, whatever the content of the book is about. So that is, I think, something really important to know about. The thing about writing with AI, there are currently, that I have been told about, I have not attended them, programs out there where you can actually pay for the program and you learn how to use AI, how to customize it for your purposes. So it learns to speak or write in your language or in your voice, as they call it in the content of the programs. And in ChatGPT, we want to just use that as the main example. There are many different ways and programs out there now, but let's just talk about ChatGPT. And you can personalize it and it will adopt your voice when you train it to do so. Yes, Helen?
So Peter has a really good question, Sigrid, in relation to this area. How
Yep.
do you prove you have not used AI if you are accused of having done so?
That's a really great question. And I would say, off the top of my mind right now, I would just say to perhaps yourself use one of those detection tools to see what they showcase about your content so that you could then perhaps refer people to say, here, check it. There is a tool, and you can see that the tool will verify this is my own non-AI created content. That's probably the first thing that comes to mind, Peter. I've not had that question. It's a really great question.
And an additional layer question, what do you think Amazon, because, when we are writing, perhaps we end up writing things that could have been written by AI. What do you know what the percentage of, like, I know that there's an app called writer.com, I think, where you can actually put in your text and see, does this sound like an AI piece? When you say Amazon is maybe testing, what are they looking for? 95%? What do you reckon?
They have three levels. So they got three questions in there. One is completely on your own, that you have completely created on your own. One is that you have used some AI help, and the other one is that you've used all of your work with AI, with AI, something like that, to that wording. So they've got three levels at the moment. That may change, and they don't let you know when they change it, but that is what I know at this point in time that they're asking. Yeah. So really good questions. And that's the thing with AI. It can become very personalized and sound like more like us. So how would an AI software tell whether your content is you or was created by AI? That's a really great question, and I don't have an answer to that one. I did not research an answer to that one for this talk today. Probably hadn't thought of it. So something I will do for another talk. I would say at this point in time, to decide whether you want to use AI, whether it is useful or not, that's how I would look at it at the moment, is this way. To create your book quickly, you could use AI to create your chapter headings. But what I would say is start with your book title in the framework, the way I teach, for example. So when you have your title in the first instance as the first thing, then you can go to AI and say, create me two sets of chapter headings or 5 chapter headings to match this title, to explain this title. So that could then be very useful because AI would come up very quickly with those chapter headings for you. Then you can adjust them from there to your own terminology, to your own targeting that you have in mind, or you just simply restructure those chapter headings. So that would be one great way to use AI. Yes, you could also start trying to find a title for your book with AI, but that is a little bit more tricky in my thinking, unless you use a really extensive description. And let me explain what I mean by that. So in my teachings of how to write a book, the first thing we do is we look at what is it that you want to achieve with that book. Therefore, if you want to have your book to be your main and most important piece of promotion, positioning, marketing to highlight your expertise, when you know that is what the purpose of that book is that you're writing, then you know straight away who you are going to be writing it for and what they are looking for from you to know about. So that means you would virtually have an idea of what you need to write about. You could just put a description of what you want to write about into the AI and tell it that this is what I'm going to write the book about. come up with 5 titles for me. That would be one way to find a title with AI. Now, I have trained my AI quite a lot this year, this whole year, and I have to say it's definitely not as perfect as I am. No, I don't mean it like that, but it's definitely not coming up with the title how I would say it. So every time it does bring something up for me, I do adjust it, I edit it, I use my own terminology, my own words in it. But you could do that, for example. So those are little areas where you can certainly use AI. Would you want to use it to write an entire chapter? I mean, absolutely you can if you want to. I would caution there that it will not be the true you coming out 100%. Definitely edit it, whatever comes out. Make sure that if you have asked for information in there, in that chapter, or in whatever you want it to write for you, that you are fully aware of any components that are verifiable. Is this really correct? Is this correct data? Is this correct information? Don't just take its word for it, AI word for it, but do check back on it, because it only gets its information from other information. So it's not like you and I thinking independently. So that makes it always a bit tricky. So those are some examples of how you can use it. Would you write an entire book with AI? The danger there is always going to be that someone else may do exactly the same on exactly the same topic and with the same title even. So you would have to be really aware of why you would even want to use AI for a book, for what purpose. Now, a purpose that I can think about could be something like that. You want to write a book that is not going to be hugely expensive, but you're going to attach some other product or program to it. Let's say, now I love gardening and I love to do organic gardening, for example. So I might think, oh, I'm going to write a short book about organic gardening, perhaps something around the 5 most important points to know about organic gardening in your backyard, in your suburb, something like that. So being specific what the topic is, what it is about. And then I could go about AI bringing the content of this book together for me. I would still need to make sure that it resonates and is aligned with how I do my organic gardening in my backyard. So you need to always check that. Such a book's purpose would perhaps be that I put that out there. I'm telling people that that's a topic I'm interested in, a topic I know something about, and then I might offer group sessions or other directly self-learning style programs online where people can get more and more information about the topic of organic gardening. So if that is your purpose and you want to use AI to bring some content together quickly, and you wouldn't make it a huge book, maybe less than 100 pages or around the 100 pages, for example, definitely. But again, I would not let it stand alone as AI creates it. I would always make sure to edit it to my own terminology and make sure that what it brings up in way of content is in line with what I really want to say. So that is a way where you could perhaps use AI to quickly create something. Now, there is a lot of content out there talk about just use it, just make lots of money. I do question the truth of that and how that is supposed to work. And I do know from some advertising previously that I have seen, and somebody has asked me about, make $1 million with your book without selling your book, I think was the headline, something like that. And they were very keen. They decided not to work with me but to follow this program. And as I investigated what is in that program, it really is nothing more than creating funnels and all these in-depth funnels on this and another funnel on that. And the whole idea is to kind of bring people through nurture funnels into you for bigger paying programs, masterminds, that sort of thing. So it is actually a very complicated behind the scenes component. It really isn't so much about the book as such, but the advertising, the marketing for it is, of course, very, oh, yes, shiny, shiny object. I want to take it. And it's initially not too expensive. So be aware of those things. All those things are out there, but always come back to what is it you want to achieve? What is this about? The book, through the ages, since we have the ability to write and put text onto something, even way back onto tablets and on papyrus later on, the status of an author, of the person that is able to write, has not been diminished. You still are, as an author, instantly elevated to being a person of knowledge. Now, in the early days of book writing and printing, when that came into place, they made sure in those days, the publishers, because of the way it was all set up, that that status was maintained to a very high level. An author was a highly specifically selected person of knowledge, therefore an authority, not just you and I today. In those days would have been able to write and publish something. We could have written it, but the publishers in those days would not have likely taken us on unless we had something really important or of value to the population in general to say. And that has been maintained, the status of authority. So I am very much looking forward to using AI and teaching individually, personalized to clients, how to use it for their book, rather than seeing it go into a direction where it kind of diminishes that authority status of us as authors into the future. That's really what I think is really important to me. So yes, you can use AI. There are many different ways. Use it for speeding up certain components of your writing. But here's the thing I want to say about the overall time it takes to write a book. It is a misconception to think you have to take months or years to write a book. You do not. If you have clarity on what you are going to write about, you have your book title and you put your chapter headings in place. All you need to do is take your chapter heading and start saying to yourself, this chapter is about. Read out your chapter heading and let the thoughts flow into your fingers, onto your keyboard, typing it onto the page, and you will see that this chapter is about. The ideas will flow quite quickly because you have this framework chapter by chapter. You do not need to write about, I was born there and then I went to school here and then I did this. No, that is way too long-winded. And not everybody wants to know that in context of your expertise, for example. And even writing a biography or something that is related to your personal story but into business, you still don't want to make it too broad and too in detail about yourself. Always keep that in mind. When you have your title and your chapter headings, you can really bring in line what you need to say. Not too much, not too little. Fully explore what that chapter is about. That is the simplest and most effective way of bringing content together for your book. And in doing so, know this: we live in a world where nobody has time for anything. And even for reading a book, no matter how interesting it is, creating something of about an A5 size book, round about 120 to 160 pages ending up with, is a good size and very readable. The moment you make it much, much longer, you will have difficulty for people to actually buy it. I know that from experience from people who've done that. They've written 500-page books and they come and say, "Can you help me market my book? It's not selling." Yeah, I'm not surprised, at 500 pages. So be aware of those components as well. Use AI by all means, bring it into customization for you. Work on with your AI to give it to learn your voice, and then always edit what it creates for you. That's my take on AI for book writing and business at this stage. In business, exactly the same, any content you need to create. I just want to point out this one thing. I see a lot of emails coming through where they start with, "I hope this email finds you well." That is such a standard AI start of an email. Do not use that. I mean, it's just so lame. I've told my AI that is not how I speak. I say hello and happy day, or hello, happy Monday, or something like that. But I don't say, "I hope this email finds you well." It's just such a giveaway. There you go. That's my take.
Sigrid, I love that. I love finishing that way. And now I know if I ever get an email from you that says, "I hope this email finds you well," I know you have been kidnapped and captured and taken over by a robot. So thank you so much. Some great ideas there, including that the person who's written the 500-word book should probably have turned it into 3 and they'll have more chance of selling it. So thank you very much. I also want you to do a session in the future. What did it make you? Oh, about how to customize your GPT so that it sounds like you. I'd love to hear that one. Anyway, I'm going to finish this session off. And if you come across this session, make sure that you go and watch Sigrid's other session that she did yesterday, because there was some great content in that too.